Hello everyone, I am back once again. Now, I know you're gonna say, I thought you, from the last video, I thought you were gonna teach us only Stalker Predator. Well, yeah, but I had to change of plans. Considering I'm gonna have to do a whole lot of reviews on, I'm probably gonna do a review on this figure, and I'm gonna have to do individual reviews for each of these figures. I decided, and also not to make it a pain for me to edit the photo gallery with the music and the pictures, I decided, why not I do my Ultimate Predator 2 countdown, well, NECA figure review, not really a countdown. I have terrible language, but anyways. So these figures include the original NECA City Hunter Predator, the original the Armored Lost. Well, these are the Ultimates, by the way. The Ultimate City Hunter, Ultimate Lost or Borg, the Ultimate Scout, the Ultimate Stalker, the Ultimate Guardian, and the Ultimate Battle Damage City Hunter Predator. Hopefully, I can add timestamps to these figures, but as you can see, I don't have. But moving into boxes right away, as you can see, I do not have the box for this figure, considering it's in storage. But I do have the boxes of all of these like 5. So anyways, moving down to the reviews. So, going on to the first figure that I ever acquired, the NECA City Hunter Predator. Here is the figure right out of course, the box. I own this figure since 2018. The figure was released in 2017. The painting and the sculpting on this figure to this day is also still pretty good. This is, I think, my second or third Predator figure. So during that time, a ton of stuff was broken. Of course, it's the original release, so his little wrist, his little control pad has broken, as you can see. And I was so dumb enough to break this piece and also break his spear multiple times and break his wrist blades. Man, that's actually really sad. Now you think about it. Can you believe that? How sad it is to just break this figure multiple times? Anyways, as you could see over time, yes, there is some blue. You could see some blue, which is a bit out of contrast from the rest of the figure. This is an ongoing trait also for Guardian. As you can see, you can even see some slight bits of unpainted plastic, but at least it looks really nicely painted. But of course, let's go down to the head. I really like this biomask. I like how it looks. It looks menacing while still retaining the original Predator design. You see the laser sight is here somehow, and it also has a nice texture to it. Moving down to his dreadlocks. Oh, his head also comes off way too easily, this one. Anyways, as you can see, they're nicely painted and sculpted with their own respective ringing thing. I don't know what it is. Moving down to his armor, it is drastically different from the Jungle Hunter. So as you can see, there's this piece for unknown reasons. I don't know why it was flattened. But as you can see, there's also this piece, which is, I think, bound to break. It's about to break. It's just about to. Look at the thing. It's also nicely painted and nicely sculpted. As you can see, very, very nicely painted. You even see the medikit, the back, with a clip on the back where you can store his spear. Oh, there goes his head. But as you can see, his plasma caster works just fine. And it also functions fine, and it's just a lot of fun to pose. It's just, well, I don't know what to say. It's very nicely painted and sculpted. Not much can be said about this figure. I already said before. The hands still look really nice, and this is before they had this new splayed hand, as you can see on Lost. As you can see on Lost, that's the new splayed hand. They didn't really have this figure didn't really have it until later on, which the new Ultimate, I think, has that new splayed hand, and this mask is a lot more brown, and his armor is a lot more color. Of course, we have this piece, which I had to hot glue everything, and yeah, it just looks really nice. Very nice. We even get his little satchel. We got his little I don't know what he carries with it. I don't know. You can see the Smart Disc holster with some nice painting, although that could be my paint there. I don't know. But as you can see, looks really nice. You can get the nice Predator toes. Moving down to his other accessory paint. And why not I do it? The articulation for this figure. Because roughly every figure here has the exact same articulation. It's just very, very tight. Because I haven't hair dried it, or in the case of Stalker, or not in the case of Stalker, in the case of Scout, his leg broke, so it can't really do much. In the case of Guardian, I had to do some figure surgery with him, so there's like a chopped off chopstick in placing for his actual leg joint. So head is on a ball joint. It can look up and down. Although on most of these new Predator figures, they are a lot more articulated. So left arm with a hinge with more articulation here. Looks really nice. A bicep swivel with a double bend. Although I wish this piece was connected to this piece, but otherwise it would have broke. A swivel here at the gauntlet, along with a ball joint. But later figures down the line would have a hinge joint with a swivel on it. His articulation at the diaphragm, it cannot move that much down. However, for newer figures, especially the Battle Damage City Hunter, it can move a lot more. So, he also has a waist swivel. There is a kick and a double bend. For the cases of Stalker and Scout, how ironic, their asses broke. And for me, I just find it really funny, but also kind of frustrating in terms of articulation. Beautiful spread. Thigh swivel, which is a ongoing issue I have with this figure, and that was the issue I had with most of these except Stalker. Double bend at the knee, really nicely done, and a ball joint at the feet, which add more posability. Posability is really good, but at the time, it was a gauntlet, it was a wrist computer that was really causing the problem. And as you can also see, this head just doesn't even want to pop in properly. You also can see in this head, there is a cracked paint there, so maybe that was mandatory for this piece as well. Moving down to his accessories, City Hunter comes with, now I don't know where most of it is in my accessories bin, but I do have most of it. So here we have two pieces of his little spear gun that he uses. Again, very nicely painted and sculpted, although I don't know why it came with a second one when it's already in the box. Here we have the alternate head, where it is roaring, and you even can see it's slightly unpainted. Here is the battle damage one for comparison. This one is more painted on the side and is a lot lighter or darker in tone. And as you can see, his eyes are, oh my lord, they have suffered. They are dirty slightly. Moving down to his wrists, to his alternate hands, he comes with, out of the box, he has the Smart Disc hand, the more splayed hand like this, two gripping hands which kind of don't function correctly and are a pain to put on, and his neck gun hand, which also holds his neck gun. Just fits right there, and there's no painting to it, but it's a nice copper color. Moving down to his blast effect, which plugs into his plasma caster like so. So let's move his dreads out of the way, and it just functions like that, and it looks really nice. However, some instances like Scout or Guardian, it kind of worries me. He also comes with this bloody skull and spine accessory, which looks really, really nice. The only one I have. And I think this is the only trouble he's having to hold it. The Smart Disc, which in some copies it doesn't fit on City Hunter's holster. And granted, I think majority of these. And we have his spear, which is, again, nicely painted and sculpted. Although I don't know which one is this one is actually the one I have for the battle damage one, or it's just a different one, but okay. So that's my thoughts on City Hunter. Now let's move over to Lost. Armored Lost is actually really good for how he looks. I don't know how to like transition it, but for what he is, he looks really nicely painted. The sculpting, again, it borrows some uses of the original City Hunter Predator, as you can see from this piece to his shoulders to even his body mold. However, it is a lot of, he has this new armor piece which you can actually remove if you want to have this unarmored look, but he looks more badass with it. So, of course, he has those new gauntlets, which work really well. He has a new skin texture compared to the original Armored Lost figure, which has a lot of a darker one. This one is a lot lighter, like a comic book. And as you can see, his feet are really nicely painted. His legs have a lot more color into him. It just looks really, really nice. Now I look at it. He has roughly the same articulation as as City Hunter. In fact, again, most of these are the same mold. It's just Lost, of course. Another breakage issue. This piece broke while removing this piece, but it has a lot more of an ab crunch. I also forgot this piece is another piece that breaks too. So when moving his leg, it kind of was a pain. Also, it was like concerning if it was actually gonna snap. Yeah. He also has an LED feature, which, hopefully on camera, turn off these lights, it is pretty bright. It looks really bright, but with these, it just looks kind of dim. Of course, the plasma caster is already attached onto there. His colors are a lot, more stable. So, yeah, moving on to the accessories. Moving down to his accessories, sorry, I need to check my dog. He has this alternate head, which looks, if you take it from the review spot's words, it kind of looks like a Christmas tree with some lanterns. Yeah, I can see the resemblance. I think the eye paint here is much better, although the expression is kind of stale. This one I actually prefer. I like how he's roaring, and it just looks really nice. Although, if I compare this one to City Hunters, is it just me, or does this one look a lot more extended? He also has the least amount of accessories out of most of these. As you can see, he has a smart disc hand. He has these open gripping hands that are able to hold his smart disc probably, which, you know, works really well, as you can see right here. Although this might be from an older figure. And his little sword, which, well, not a little sword, this is a pretty big sword, which is the same thing, but I think it's a lot more vibrant, and even more, this little red piece here actually is a lot brighter. Yeah, I think for me, he's slightly the weakest out of all the Lost Tribe Predators, but I think the quality control is not as bad as Scout, which we're now moving on to Scout. Moving on to Scout Predator, and oh boy, this is where the issues are just coming in. The painting and the sculpting on this figure is relatively the same as the Jungle Hunter Predator. This is the same Predator figure, but it just has a lot shinier tones. The same City Hunter Predator figure, but it has this new piece, which looks actually really nice. He has those bloody wrist blades, which broke somehow. And he has, of course, that traditional Predator biomass, but the skin tone is different. In fact, the skin tone is almost like the original Predator, just a lot different. As you can see, his ass kind of broke. But, oh man, this figure has some serious issues. I wanted to love this thing. I'm sorry, I really do. I really wanted to love this thing. Ever since it was announced and saw the accessories and whatnot, I was like, oh my lord, this must be better than Lost. So as you can see, his leg has snapped. Why? Now, I don't know how to fix something like this than just hot glue, because it kind of doesn't work, even though it kind of does, but it doesn't spread out as much. And another QC issue, his leg. You ever wonder why I have these scars? Yeah, I was going full Heath Ledger Joker, but you ever wonder why there was this crack piece here? Well, it's simple. This piece was molded on accident. And I hate the fact that I have to, like, literally hair dry this thing or put it under hot water, then bend the joint, put either of these two joints out, and then bend it ever so slightly until I found the issue. And yes, it was molded into place. How? It's just insane that it's like that. It just really sucks. I really want to get a new Scout Predator, because this one is just full of issues. And what kind of sucks is that his accessories are actually really good. Now, unfortunately, I don't know where his extended spear or other accessories are, if he did come with any, like a little net, another one of these, one of the shoot your arm gauntlet guns. But as you can see, he has a collapsed sniper rifle, which looks really, really nice. Although, and how do you put it on then? Well, at least for this figure alone. This figure and Guardian have a new feature. You can remove this piece and you can add on pieces like this. So it can make it look like he's holding he is carrying his sniper rifle, in which goes into his sniper rifle, which is, it's long, extends really nicely with, I think, some blood. And as you can see, it extends really, there's a little stand there for him to hold. Moving down to the smart discs, which are roughly the same. They're a lot copper or color, and once extended like this, which is a new mold ever since the new Ahab figure, is extended with a bit of brown into it, which looks really nice, although it looks kind of dull. And of course his hands, which are very nice. Of course, here's a spear, very nicely painted and sculpted. I don't know where his other one is. But the main star of the show is his alternate head. This thing looks so nice. Out of all the Predator heads I have, out of all the ones from this wave, Scout has the best. The mandibles, he's like mute. It just works so well. I like the new sculpt. It just looks so nice. Now, overall, what I would say about him, I think he's fine. It's just the QC issue just boil me so much. Anyways, moving on to Stalker. Stalker looks really nice. Spoiler, this is, by the time, this was probably one of my favorite Predators, if not my favorite Predator from the line, and it still is, even though his ass broke, which is a lot worse than Scout. But with him, I think this figure is amazing. Like, even though I don't own the Sinestro Corpse Predator, I don't own that figure. I've seen photos of it, but I initially passed on it considering the price. But this figure, but as soon as they're going to do that figure, I was like, you know what they're going to do? They're going to make a Stalker Predator, an Ultimate Stalker Predator. And as you can see, Ultimate Stalker Predator. So now moving on to his mask. Now, originally there wasn't as much detail from the original, I think. It was more silver or a lot darker. Here it's a lot lighter, and there's actual cracks into the mask, and even some writing into it. And it just looks menacing. This armor piece is also a new piece that you can actually remove if you want that unarmored look, which you have to remove his head and then put his arms backwards like this, and then you can remove his armor, which I am not going to do. And then his gauntlets, which are new, as you can see. His gauntlets are new with no swivel in them. There is a subsequent bone there, but it looks really nicely painted and sculpted. And then moving on to here, which is pretty plain, but it looks like it was stitched. Although this piece, this does not look good, but hey, it looks really nice. It looks really nice. I also like how it has this sort of tiger color into it, which looks really nice. The copper colors also add depth into it, along with this little nice satchel, which kind of gets in the way. He also has this really cool Stalker trophy necklace. As you see, it has some bones in it, and it's extended enough. It kind of annoys me. And also has the Stalker Predator's biomask in it. And there's even some gold into his legs right there, and he also has some silver copper color into it. So overall, I think color scheme, he looks really, really nice. Beautiful, indeed. Just beautiful, rich, and it just looks like a tiger. Articulation-wise, it's roughly the same figure, although his gauntlets cannot move at all compared to the other Predator figures. Moving down to his head, we have his head here, which these heads here just look so generic. Every time they just look kind of generic. So it's kind of an issue that this has a sort of generic head, but it looks really nice with the skin tone. And he has sort of the least amount of accessories, but at least he isn't as problematic as like Scout. And that's one thing I think this figure is better. His articulation at the leg isn't a pain. With Scout, I had to his leg literally broke, and I was legitimately worried that I'm going to have to deal with a similar issue. But I didn't have to worry. His leg could move fine. It's just his foot peg is a lot misjointed, so he can't really move his feet that much. Anyways, here's a spear, which is, I don't like how it's bent. It's just bent, badly bent. But it looks really nicely painted and sculpted with a bit more color into it, which looks really nice. There's also his little collapsed spear, which looks also really nice, although I'm probably just going to display it with the more extended spear. He also has a new plasma caster piece, which can extend out and has a swivel here, a moving system here, can go up and down for storage, and can hinge at the top, which looks really nice. And then we move on to his smart discs, which are the most confusing thing in history. Why in the world are these like this? I don't know why. They just look kind of weird. Out of all the Predator figures here, Guardian has probably the best smart discs out of all of them, but this looks alright. And then he has this plasma caster beam, which functions better than the Jungle Hunter one, and then on camera it looks a lot lighter than the Jungle Hunter one. And of course, before that, he has a skull, he has a skull, which looks really new. I don't know, there's no shading into it, which is really weird. And he also has his arm cannon, which pegs into this portion of his arm, so if you want to see. There we go. There he is. However, yeah, there's no swivel there, so it kind of doesn't work, and the color scheme is wrong, but here's one nitpick I can say for this guy, besides his ass breaking. I really wish he came with a new accessory, other than this gauntlet. I get it, his backstory is he was a thief along with Boar, but, like, there's something that this figure needs there's something that this figure looks so cool. I really wish it came with a new weapon other than this arm gauntlet. Because, like, most of the Predators here, even though they have some sort of arm gauntlet, like, I wish he had something similar to that. A new weapon that he made when he was still a thief. So yeah, by far, this is the best out of all the Ultimate Predator 2 figures. Anyways, moving on to Guardian. Almost done. There's like 2 more figures left. Or just one after Guardian, there's like 1 more left. Anyways, Guardian Predator, aka the Predator I had the most struggle on. The sculpting, again, is well done, but oh man, the paint is not that good. The paint is a mess. I really hate the fact that every part of this figure is just very inconsistent. His gauntlet here is a different color from his other gauntlets. His gauntlet here, also his armor, this piece of armor is is a different color. It's more of a copper sort of ish color. I don't know what color it is. Than this. And the biomask also has slight bits of inconsistency of brown, slightly, and silver. It's really strange that this figure looks almost unfinished. And as you can see, right here, this was the pain I was talking about. When I got this figure out of the box, his thigh was legitimately tight. So, and I was in a hotel. So, by then, I didn't know there was a hairdryer. And I didn't have any scissors. So, I chopped it off with my own hands and my own strength. And, like, it worked. But before I did that, I had to put this under hot water and then remove the peg and then use the same chopstick and then just turn it ever so slightly. And then, yeah, it was legitimately tight. Yeah, it's such a pain that I had to go through this. And as you can also see, his plasma caster doesn't want to pop in correctly, which is why I preferably put it to the side. Yeah, it's just... Yeah, in terms of color schemes, Guardian is a lot lighter in color. Posability, again, is still the same, so which is why I'm not covering posability, which is why I did City Hunter for a reason. First, moving down to his accessories, which I think is the benefit he has. Guardian has a spear, which broke out of the box, really sad. Has some nice copper color, but it looks slightly dull. So, but it looks alright, I guess. I don't display this figure with it. I display it with this. Now, how do I put this piece on? It's simple. You mainly focus on this piece here. Here we go. Now, I'm off camera, but you see, you remove this like that. And then there is a peg right there. There is no articulation on it whatsoever. Then you just plug it in and it works. The problem is I was expecting some very finicky stuff, but thankfully not. Although it doesn't want to stay on and it looks slightly out of proportion, but it looks nice. He also has an alternate sense of hands, which look a lot more like City Hunters in terms of paint scheme, which kind of made me blinded on which one is City Hunters and which one is Guardians. But they're nice, of course, they match the skin, which is really nice. We have his alternate head, which looks also really dull, although it looks really nice. Yeah, pretty nicely painted. He also has, apparently this is a bomb, a thermocharge, I think, which you remove, again, this piece on his back, which is already removed because it doesn't want to peg in, and you just swivel this, and then you just plug this in. And so, it plugs in much better than Scout Sniper. I originally thought this was a collapsed version of this. So maybe it has some Transformers elements. He also had a plasma caster shot, but I don't know where it went in the box in the bin of accessories. But for this thing, it has a piece like this. And he also has a piece that looks like he's about to fire it. So, and like, I really wish I had more stands, like an articulated base, so I can get him up in the air doing these really badass poses. Or, if you don't want the flame, which I kind of don't want, it just works on its own. Ain't that lovely? So yeah, probably the second best, despite its issues. So, then moving on to the last figure, and then size comparisons, which I won't compare it to anything else. Finally, the last figure out of the whole wave, as of now, Ultimate Battle Damaged City Hunter Predator. Of course, similar slight issues of Guardian, but at least they're not as frequent as Guardian, so this isn't as bad. And of course, the obvious is the blood. The blood is a lot more spread out on this figure, to his obvious severed arm, to his body, to his back, to also his leg. Of course, the painting and sculpting on this thing is really nice. Obviously, you can even see it just looks so much better. More eye paint, and his biomask, his little breathing apparatus is nicely done. Although, I really wish there was a hole for it to plug this in, like the Ultimate, like the original AVP Predators, but you can't just plug it in. You also can't remove his medikit, which I really wish. Yeah. I think for so far, this figure is really good. Also, it's a lot lighter and more in contrast. It looks a lot more like its Ultimate City Hunter Predator version 2, which is a reissue, than its normal counterpart. As you can see, it is, in terms of paint scheme, it is slightly different. Also, it has a slight more chunk to it. In terms of accessories, City Hunter doesn't really... This version of City Hunter doesn't really have a lot, considering he was battle damaged. But he has of course, this new mask, but he also has a new head where he has these closed mandibles, which looks really nice. However, I cannot plug this into this figure, and frankly, not even the reissue City Hunter Predator. He also has other sets of hands, however, they're roughly the same, but a lot lighter. He also had the severed arm, which makes sense why he doesn't have a gauntlet swivel. Compared to most of the others, which have a gauntlet swivel compared to Stalker, he doesn't have one for this piece, though. So, if you wanted to tab this piece in, which hopefully is the right side... Let's just get this in. Yep. See? It looks nice, but there is some green paint into it, which looks kind of iffy. And moving down to this, which I think the accessories are a big benefit. The smart discs, a lot more color into them, and of course, there's this new one. So, but he can't hold it correctly. Maybe with this. But... not too sure. Slightly. You can see it looks really nice. And he also has another spear, which I don't know where this other collapsed spear is. This one is slightly like Guardian's. I don't know why. And then his biomask, which looks very nicely painted and sculpted. I really am happy that NECA decided to add this in instead of just me using the masked head sculpt just for the sake of him having an like a biomask prop, which now he has. So, yeah. Now let's move on to the size comparisons. Size comparisons. These figures stand at a roughly, as you can see, 7 to 8 inches. Now, I don't know if it's exactly right for any of these figures, considering, some are on this base, while others are not, or halfway, while others are just on the table. Which, I am not going to compare this to any other figure. I'm sorry. I'm too tired to do it. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal for any of these. Now, personally, if I had to rank them, Lost would be the weakest. I had zero excitement for it, which is really sad. Next, we'll unfortunately go to Scout. Now, if I can buy a replacement figure, I would put this higher. But unfortunately, This is what I have to do. He's the second last. Then the Ultimate City Hunter Predator. This is the original release, so the reissue might be better. And yeah, over time it's alright, but although the articulation was really well done. Then we went to the goods figures. The Battle Damage City Hunter. I know this leg piece is so close to cracking. It can still swivel, but he cannot kick up with that leg. And he's just, with that leg, with this figure, it looks nice. Although I rather prefer the original, but this figure, why not? It looks really nice. It looks beautiful on its own, excuse me. Next would be the Ultimate Guardian. Excuse me again. I know I had to do figure surgery on him, but honestly, this is probably, in terms of accessories, he's probably one of the best Predator figures out there besides City Hunter. It just looks really nice. And then, of course, the best is Stalker. I like the color scheme. I like the articulation here a lot more. The quality control isn't as bad as most of these, which kind of suffered from a very tight leg that makes me kind of worried. This one was kind of tight-ish, but it isn't as tight to the point it worries me. So, yeah, I'd rather get Stalker, but honestly, if you want to get all of them, go ahead if you want to do it. But if you don't have original releases, I suggest you get the Wave, I guess you want to call it. But if you just want a specific Predator, I suggest Stalker or Guardian or Battle Damage City Hunter, or if not, maybe the original City Hunter. Yeah, that's all I can have to say. I think most of the Predator figures here are just good, even though some of the ones like Scout, which had quality control, is still good. I think this whole, even though this whole line of Ultimate Predator 2 figures, I like it because I never owned any of these. I never owned any of the original Lost Tribe members except Lost. By then, so I'm a lucky person that never has any of the original releases. So I should be pretty lucky. Although that's a lot of money to spend on them. And yeah, they're coming slowly and steadily over the time, even though it's past Predator 2's 30th anniversary. So there's going to be more. There's going to be a Boar Predator, a Shaman Predator. There's also going to be a new Warrior Predator, which looks really nice. And of course, the last one would be Greyback. So until then, if I had to rank them out of 10, Guardian would be a 7.5, Stalker would be an 8, Scout would sadly be a 6.5, Lost would be a 6, Battle Damage City Hunter would be a 7, and City Hunter Predator, the original, would be a 6.9 or a 7. So until then, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll put the links. Hopefully most of these are still on sale on the Big Bad Toy Store and not sold out. And I'll see you guys next time with the review of probably MCU Vulture or a Sam Raimi Spider-Man stuff for the sake of Spider-Man No Way Home. Till then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!